Welcome, welcome, all you who are on Zoom and all you who are in this sanctuary together. Together we affirm our collective hope for peace, and we acknowledge that these lands that we love are the ancestral lands of the Yavapai people, the Wipukepas, the Tolkepayas, and the Quevkepayas, and the Yavapai. On this morning, the flowers and the lovely flag have been brought to us by Mary Fran and Jack Bennett, and they represent our solidarity with the Ukraine. Thank you for bringing these. Very recent social media reports are showing this collective non-cooperation, this incredible courage of the Ukrainian people to take action in the face of danger. Let us watch community members of Ukraine take action, actions that are being repeated in small towns all over Ukraine. Let us watch together.
Матвеев, красавчик!
Стоим. Все, не впустили танки в город.
Остановитесь!
Повернули назад.
Я понял, танки отступают, да? Я понял. Да, танки отступают назад. Мы прогнали танки. Станции, блядь!
Сейчас не знаем.
Что вы будете здесь делать? Мы здесь живем, а мы вокруг. Да не рвите! Слава Украине! Героям слава! Слава Украине! Героям слава! Путин хуйло! Слава Украине! Героям слава! Путин хуйло! Героям слава! Ой.
Ребята.
Отходим. Стоим.
Не надо провоцировать. Это что за...
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
I don't know about you all, but when I see something like that, my mind says, if I were there, what would I be doing? Would I be able to be out there on the street facing those tanks? So with those thoughts and those visions in our minds, good morning and welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation. So I'm Suki Jones, your worship associate this morning. We extend a warm welcome to all. It's good to see all of you there sitting in front of me and all of you there on Zoom. Hello, good morning. We're glad you're able to join us, however you join us, and hope you're all in good health. This is the mission statement of our congregation. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Please join us after the service for socializing in small groups in the sanctuary, or for those on Zoom, go ahead and go to your breakout rooms. Great chance to chat with people. If you're joining us for the first time, please check out our website at prescottuu.org for more information about us. And if you're here in person, there will be time to introduce yourself at the end of the service, and then please stay and chat with a member or two. We thank our pianist this morning, Lena, our choir director, Mary Lou, wherever she is, and the choir. Look at them all up there ready to sing their hearts out, and all our Sunday morning volunteers, especially this morning, Tracy and Chris, who are learning the system of Zoom and microphones and everything. So thank you guys for taking this on. Please take a moment to set your phones on worship mode. Before we begin our service, we have a few announcements. We are a busy congregation, so we be sure to read announcements found in the order of service, the weekly peak on our website, and Reverend Patty's videos for updates and announcements. Our regular Zoom meetings are the Wednesday Forum, Wednesday afternoon faith development classes, and Friday lunch with the minister. Bev and Robert, our children's faith development program leaders, have resumed in-person classes for pre-K in the nursery, and the older children are meeting in the religious education building across the street. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighter this morning is Chris Parsons. And for a chalice lighting, I'm reading the words of Atticus Palmer. We call this light before us in hope that we may always remain a strong community, working together to make the world a better place. When we are grieving or sad, when we are challenged, when we need help, this flame guides us out of the darkness. When we are cheerful, when we celebrate, when we accomplish a great task, when we return to a place that makes us happy, the chalice reminds us to share our happiness with others. We light this chalice, a symbol of our heritage, in gratitude for this beloved community.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am glad to be here. I am feeling rested after a month of sabbatical, and grateful to the marvelous worship team who brought you beautiful worship services while I was gone. Thank you, worship team. With the new CDC guidelines, we are feeling safe enough to sing. We are banishing the humming and singing today. And for weeks, my life has felt linked with the people of Ukraine. Today, as we feel the joy of being together, We gather in solidarity with the many in Ukraine who are teaching us about love of country. Inspiring us, I hope, to redefine patriotism. In this time of the year, when we are affirming our commitments within our community, let us affirm our solidarity with these people far away. As Martin Luther King Jr. wrote, we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. We have felt that so strongly in the past days. Let us hold that feeling together today as we open with a song, at long last sung with masks, Gather the Spirit.
Please rise in body or spirit and join.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, trials in the light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit of heart and mind, seized for the sowing or laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun, winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Wow. Oh, gosh, it's wonderful to hear voices. Oh, my gosh. Oh, and now please join me in saying our covenant together. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. And now I would like to invite Mary Ann Erickson to come up and lead us in the stewardship covenant. Yay, Mary Ann! Hosted a fabulous party last night. And if you don't know about that, let us know and we'll invite you for next year.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, Zoomers. It was really fun last night. I love parties. We will share the screen in a moment with the covenant that we will say in support of our 24 stewards. This is the 25th anniversary year of the congregation, and we are well ahead of time on our stewardship campaign, thanks to those of you who have pledged in advance. I would like to ask the stewards who are present in this room, as I call your name, to stand up until all the names are called. And if you're on Zoom, please raise your hand. Starting with Lydia Garrett. Is Lydia here today? No, all right. She probably is on Zoom. Chris Hawthorne. Thank you. Briggy Dickinson. Thank you. Stay standing. Deb Walter, probably on Zoom. Joan Brown, probably also on Zoom. Kelsey Wilkes, on Zoom. Mary Steenhope, in person. Joe Sprague. Robert Chicog, he's across the street in Faith Development. Lee Phillips, probably at home. Chris Parsons. Go. Thank you. Suki Jones. Elaine Hayes is at home, probably on Zoom. Art Gorski. Russ Erickson. Myself. Peter Eldridge. Go. Marianne Clark. Jerry Carley at home. Bev Bostrom across the street, doing children's faith development. Bobby Bollinger. There she is. Frank Beeson, probably at home. Oh no, there he is. Hi, Frank. And BJ Allgood. Home. Okay. Let us start, and please, you may sit down. Thank you for standing up to be recognized. And those of you on Zoom can take your hands down. So let us begin with the words to the steward covenant. The stewards alone speak their part, and then the congregation their part. So we stand before you committed to doing our best to make our congregation's dreams come true by asking each of you to connect with us to generously support our mission and our vision. Understanding that stewardship is a spiritual practice, we commit ourselves with open hearts and helping hands to make personal connections and build community with you. We commit ourselves to listen respectfully to your dreams and concerns. We promise to keep private what you say should be kept private and pass along only that information that you have asked us to share.
We commend ourselves.
And together, we commit ourselves to enjoy each other's company, to respect each other's ideas, perceptions, and beliefs, and to have a good time while raising funds to ensure the future health of our congregation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Thank you. And thanks. There's something about putting it down. And thanks to all of you who participate in this. What I've heard is that many long friendships have come out of these conversations with stewards. So I invite you to meet for coffee or a meal and just enjoy that conversation. And now I invite you into a different kind of time. Let us breathe together, and I will ring the bell, and let us consider all that is around us and within us. As we breathe together and feel our connection with the earth, let us consider that on this same earth, the people of Ukraine are standing. Let us hold them in the light of our community. All over the world, not just in Ukraine, but in many other places, there are conflicts. There are people who are suffering. Let us remember that garment, that those interconnected pieces of the web of life that connect us with all life on this planet. And each of us comes to this time with our own joys and sorrows. In our community, we hold Judy Davis, who is once again feeling ill. We extend our love to her. And Jack Stanton, who fell once again and will be in rehab. And let us pray that the rehabilitation center actually does something this time. And let us hold Elaine, who I hope is just feeling allergies and nothing else. And let us especially hold Sandy and Dan Reardon. Sandy broke her wrist and is in the healing process, but she has so many underlying conditions that this is a very, very difficult time. And now I invite those of you who are on Zoom and those of you who are in this place, we had concerns about passing a mic. And so I'm just going to have you give names in a loud voice if there are people that you are holding on your hearts, and I will give those names to the people who are on Zoom. And those of you who are on Zoom, I invite you to write in the chat, and I will read those names to the people gathering here. Yes, Mary Ann. Oh yes, Rick Denny and his family. Rick lost his brother in the past days, and he is in mourning over that. Let us hold them. Let me see. And Dan is asking us to hold Sandy. And Rick gives his brother's name, Duane. And Daryl and Levon Levi are holding Rod Anderson of Tallahassee in their heart. And of course, we are holding Suze and all those who are mourning her great loss, and Suze's mother, Grace Rezitar. We will be having a memorial service this coming Saturday in this sanctuary. There will be more information about that. Is there anyone else? Marianne. Oh.
No, it was for Susan's mother.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I had Suze down here, yes. So I think we need to send lots of energy to Suze. Those of you who are new to our congregation, Suze was an amazing presence among us, a great spiritual presence. And she was the one who often I found when I was getting ready to leave and I was the last one leaving, Suze was still in the kitchen washing the mugs from coffee. So Suze took on many of those hidden tasks, and she is greatly missed, greatly missed. We also celebrate Clara Rose's second birthday. I'm going to mention her in my sermon, but yes, Clara Rose had her second birthday. Is there anyone else? And I lit so many candles here today because I wanted us to include and remember the many people of the Ukraine who are facing rather impossible odds and showing the world such incredible courage. So I invite you now to enter a time of meditation. Let us breathe together and hold in our silence all of these names that were mentioned. And I will follow this about a minute of silence with a meditation prayer. Spirit of life, we gather in this place, our hearts filled with sorrow and with joy. We hold the people of Ukraine. We hold the million refugees. We hold those countries who are opening their doors. We pray for peace. And we pray for all those in our community whose names have been mentioned. May they find comfort and healing and peace. We say these things in your many names. Amen. And now I invite you to all sing together, Walking, Walking with You. Walking, walking with you, walking with you is my prayer.
As we prepare to take the offering this morning, let us give thanks for the many blessings we have received in our lives together. Let us acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through this offering, and may this generosity spread even wider, and may we flourish with the benefit of all that we share together. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. This month's recipient is Unitarian Universalist Justice of Arizona, UU Jazz. And Janine Gelsinger, the executive director, will be with us. I believe it's next week, so you can hear more about the organization directly from her. To give online, go to prescottuu.org/giving. On the bottom left-hand side, click on Support Granite Peak to contribute. The link is also available in the chat for those of you on Zoom. Please enjoy our offertory music.
Now we're on the same page.
I'm gonna lay down my heavy load down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my heavy load down by the riverside. I ain't gonna study war no more. 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 I ain't gonna study war no more.
I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside. Ain't gonna study war no more. I 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 ain't gonna study war no more.
In Karen Blixen's marvelous Babette's Feast, we read, these two ladies had a French maid of all work, Babette. It was a strange thing for a couple of Puritan women in a small Norwegian town. It might even seem to call for an explanation. The people of Verlevåg found the explanation in the sisters' piety and kindness of heart, For the old dean's daughters spent their time and their small income in works of charity. No sorrowful or distressed creature knocked on their door in vain. And Babette had come to that door 12 years ago as a friendless fugitive, almost mad with grief and fear. But the true reason for Babette's presence in the two sisters' house was to be found further back in time and deeper down in the domain of human hearts. Let us listen to a bit of Babette's feast.
Vi fick Kai en sarkophage. En rätt som hon själv komponerat. General Gallifet, som var värd för kvällen, förklarade att denna kvinna, denna kökschef, var kapabel att förvandla en måltid till en slags kärleksaffär. Ett älskogsförhåll där man inte längre kunde skilja mellan fysisk och andlig aptit.
There are a lot of movies in which food figures, a lot of movies with banquets and feasts and parties, but there are very few movies I can think of where food, the preparation and the eating of food, the sharing of a meal, plays such a central role as it does in Gabriel Axel's Babette's Feast. Based on a story by the Danish novelist Isak Dinesen, Babette's Feast is set in the 19th century in a remote part of Denmark. It concerns two sisters, Martina and Philippa. They're the daughters of a Protestant minister who's sort of the dominant figure in this rural, very pious community. When they're young, they each have a suitor. One of them has a young, dashing officer. The other, a rather florid French opera singer who also gives her voice lessons. But neither relationship works out, and the two women grow toward middle age together as spinsters. Then one day, a mysterious Frenchwoman, played by the great actress Stéphane Audran, shows up on their doorstep. She's an old friend of the opera singer, and she's fleeing from political persecution in Paris. She becomes the sisters' cook and housekeeper, and she masters the local diet, which consists basically of boiled salted fish and a porridge made from stale bread and old beer.
Brød. Brød. Lægges i blød.
They live like this for 14 years, and then one day, Babette wins the lottery. And she decides that before going back home to France, she's going to treat the sisters to a lavish and extravagant French feast. And the preparation and the sharing of this meal takes up almost the entire second half of this movie, and it's lingered over in wonderful detail. The brilliant thing about this movie and why it is so moving and so satisfying and so fulfilling is that it shows that this religious asceticism and this sensuality are really expressions of the same impulse, which is an impulse of love and generosity and spiritual fulfillment.
Klokken slår, tiden går, evigheden os forestår. Lad os da bruge den kostbare tid.
Lou has sent me a note that said Denmark, not Norway. He said Denmark, but actually I've just read Isak Dinesen's book, and she speaks of it being in Norway. So I don't know which the film decided. I didn't, anyway, they sounded, anyway, there we are. But it is important to distinguish between those two countries. Danish do not like to be thought of as Norwegian, and Mary Lou is part Danish. So, and she loves Norway, so there you are. And as I have been preparing for today and watching this film, My attention has kept shifting back and forth between this imagined village that Isak Dinesen did put in Norway to bomb shelters and human roadblocks in Ukraine. I have cried through the national anthem sung by the singers of the Metropolitan Opera. Did you see that? Oh my gosh. And the anthem sung by Ukrainian choirs in all the scenes from this film and from Ukraine. I have seen generosity of heart. I had never thought before that generosity is an essential part of patriotism, a generosity that one feels for one's country that is large enough to give the great gifts, even one's life. It is my hope that this humanitarian crisis will inspire us to claim patriotism in a new way as a kind of wholehearted generosity and love. And in Babette's feast, one of the pious sisters, Martine, their names are Martine and Philippa, over Martin Luther and his friend who had Philip in his name. So they are very pious. They speak of generosity, remembering their father's words as they are partaking of Babette's gift. They say, the only things which we may take with us from our life on earth are those which we have given away. I'm going to read that again. The only things we may take with us from our life on earth are those which we have given away. These sisters, Martine and Philippa, love to give. They bring meals to the poor and the sick in this small Norwegian village that is their home, and the men around them want to give them gifts. They are beautiful young women at the beginning of this story. And an opera star is visiting from Paris, and he hears Philippa's voice, which is like the voice of an angel. And he knows she could be a star of the Paris Opera. And another well-born young soldier wants to marry the other sister. But the sisters are satisfied with their lives as they are. They are giving their lives in support of their father's ministry. And when a young man asks for Martine's hand in marriage, the father says that his daughters are his right and his left hand. How can the man ask him to give one of them up? And the men are so disappointed. And this village changes little through the years. The father dies, the community continues to meet, to carry on the faith and the difficult seasons of this coast. They survive on two kinds of soup, as you saw, one made of local dried fish and the other bread and old beer. One day passes much like another. And across the continent, across the water and into the European continent, wars are raging. I read once about the number of wars in the 19th century. It is extraordinary. In 1871, after the French defeat in the Franco-Prussian War, a revolutionary government is established in Paris, called the Paris Commune. The people who take part in this government are called the communards. The author of Babette's Feast, Karen Blixen, whose pen name was Isak Dinesen, her father was involved in the commune in Paris. She knew this situation well. The commune governed Paris for only 2 months, establishing policies that tended toward a progressive, anti-religious system of social democracy, including separation of church and state, self-policing, remission of rent during the siege, the abolition of child labor, which was rampant during this time, the right of employees to take over an enterprise deserted by its owner. Feminist, socialist, communist, and anarchist currents played important roles in the Commune. I imagine many of us might have become communards. What do you think? Yeah. Thank you. And following this time where they occupied Paris, thousands had to flee abroad. Roughly 20,000 communards were executed during La Semaine Sanglante, Bloody Week. 7,500, so 20,000 were executed. 7,500 were jailed or deported under arrangements which continued into the 1880s. And in the midst of this revolution is a woman named Babette Hersant. She was the celebrated chef of the Café Anglais. And she was friends with many of these people in high places who did not want the communards, who wanted to kill the communards. And her husband, her son, and her were all part of this movement. Both of them, and I want you to imagine this, her husband and her son were both killed in front of her eyes. And she knew that she was next. Distraught, she runs to her friend, Achille Pépin, who is an opera singer, for help. He remembers his time in this village when he fell in love with that woman who had the angelic voice, and he writes them a letter and asks them to welcome Babette. And it is a cold, rainy night when Babette arrives at the door of the sister's house. She is grieving her son and husband, fearing for her own life, exhausted, assaulted by the cold and rain. She pleads for the women to accept her. She doesn't want money, she tells them. She only needs refuge. And as the letter from the singer explains, she can cook. In this scene, we can feel the resistance of the sisters who are accustomed to giving, a one-sided giving to all the people in the village. But finally, you feel them relent and decide to receive from Babette because she has no other place to go. By receiving Babette's offer, they are saving her life. It is a wonderful kind of reciprocity, which reminds me of those bumper stickers about rescuing animals. Who saved whom? The religious group of villagers, these Puritans, continue to meet during these years when Babette is cooking them better food. And it is amazing to see the faces of these people who now receive the food from Babette instead of the sisters' soup. And you can see them where they close their eyes. It's a marvelous, marvelous thing to see. But during this 12 years, the people of this community, these very religious people, start to bicker with each other and remember things from the past, how one of them cheated another. And they do not have good gatherings. So the sisters decide, our father, the great leader of this community, his 100th year birthday is coming up. We're going to have a festival, a celebration. And they hope that this gathering will revive their faith and their love in each other. And as the birthday approaches, Babette receives a letter from Paris that she has won the lottery. In the letter is a check for 10,000 French francs. and she once again asks the sisters to receive. This time, she is offering to prepare a dinner, a real French dinner. And again, the pious women resist the gift, but finally they give in, thinking that this might be the last time that Babette cooks for them before she returns to Paris. For surely, if she is a rich woman, she will not stay with them and be their cook. And when Babette returns with bottles of French wine and champagne, I imagine this religious community, they are teetotalers, and ingredients in wheelbarrows that include a huge sea turtle, birds destined for a dish. The sisters regret their decision to have this party. And Martine has a terrible dream in which she sees Babette poisoning the old brothers and sisters, Philippa and herself. We must eat, she goes to the community and says, we must eat, but we cannot taste the food or remark on it at all. We must keep our austere ways no matter what. But of course, as you saw in the clip I showed you, the food is so delicious that they can't hold on to their resolve. They succumb to the meal. Babette's gift created some space for them to wholeheartedly receive. The food and wine are like a magical blessing that opens them to talk with each other, remember long lost love, and forgive old injuries. The unexpected, unasked for gift of a feast, which even breaks many rules, I imagine, of that sect, is just what the community needs in order to begin anew. During the dinner, fear melts away, and the world of the people at the table becomes a kind of heaven on earth, what we would call beloved community. And the climax of this film is this feast. And the villagers are drinking and eating this heavenly meal. But this scene, this heaven, is built on all the giving and receiving through the years. Their beloved community comes as an incredible gift, built on all of the small gifts and acts of kindness from the sisters who opened their doors to Babette, to the daily soup making distributed through the village. Through the years, the sisters and the village provided a place where Babette could heal from the grief of losing her husband and her life as a great chef. This was all foundation for that feeling of joy, ecstatic joy that happens with the feast. Last night, at our own congregational dinner, I felt joy. I felt joy gathering as we enjoyed a meal together. And I believe that that experience together, the feelings of kindness and love that were going through that restaurant, were built on all the times that we have shown up for one another and for the world, for the work together on empty bowls that has been so tricky to navigate during the pandemic. It was built on all the energy that you put into conquering the irritating challenges of technology. It was built on the births we celebrated together, like Clara Rosa's, and the people we have lost and mourned together, the people we have visited, the people we have helped through difficult times. I wonder about that moment for Babette when she received that 10,000 French francs, which we find out in the movie was what it cost to make that meal. So she becomes poor at the end of the meal, but she does not become poor. There were so many ways Babette could have thought to spend that money, sensible ways. But yet she had that inkling, that urging to do something different, to bring an experience that only she could bring to that village that had opened its arms to her on that night, that cold, rainy night. I believe that each of us can have access to those urgings of how we might best give to a community that gives much to us. This congregation, during its 25 years together, has received great gifts each year that have kept us going into the next year. Since I have been here, each year we have received an anonymous gift of $10,000. And I've heard of other gifts like those of Taya and Bob Park, who could not give a large financial donation. They started a service of doing handyman kind of jobs. The proceeds of shoveling snow for people around them funded our congregation. And when I think of Suze Rezitar, with whom I only interacted in person, like with all of you, for only 6 months before the pandemic set in, was I would see her on Sunday morning, making sure the kitchen was clean after our coffee hour. What a great gift Suze gave to us. I am grateful for the flowers that Mary Fran and Jack Bennett brought today to our sanctuary that connect us with the people of Ukraine. When the sisters discovered that Babette had used all of her winnings for the dinner, one of them said, "Dear Babette, you ought not to have given away all you had for our sake." Babette gave her mistress a deep glance, a strange glance. Was there not pity, even scorn at the bottom of it? "For your sake," she replied. "No, for my own." And Karen Blixen continues, of what happened later in the evening after the feast. Nothing definite can be here stated. None of the guests later on had any clear remembrance of it. They only knew that the rooms had been filled with a heavenly light, as if a number of small halos had blended into one glorious radiance. Taciturn old people received the gift of tongues. Ears that for years had been almost deaf were open to it. Time itself had merged into eternity. Long after midnight, the windows of the house shone like gold, and golden song flowed out into the winter air. Yesterday evening, we had some golden light and song flowing out from our dinner into the Gateway parking lot. I believe that our presence in the Quad City area, embodied by our building and the way that we can show up in the greater community, is making a difference in this world. Today, I'm asking you to listen to what your heart is saying about giving. For in the end, we are defined by our giving. As the sister's father said, the only thing which we may take from us, with us from our life on earth, are those which we have given away. Amen. And may it be so. And I invite you all to sing once again of a dream of such a world we hope for, a world transformed. Let us sing together, if every woman in the world. Every woman in the world had her mind set on freedom. If every woman in the world dreamed a sweet dream of peace, if every woman of every nation, young and old, each generation, held her hands out in the name of love, there would be no more war. If every man in the world had his mind set on freedom, if every man in the world dreamed a sweet dream of peace, if every man of every nation, young and old, each generation, held his hands out in the name of love, there would be no more war. If every leader in the world shared a vision of freedom, if every leader in the world shared a sweet dream of peace, if every leader of every nation, young and old, and generation, holding hands out in the name of love, there would be no more war. If every nation in the world set a true course for freedom, if every nation raised its children in a culture of peace, if every sons and all our daughters reached in friendship across the waters, refusing to be enemies, there would be no more war. Those of you in the sanctuary, you may remain standing if you are standing, because I want you to sing again the chorus for a song. To close our gathering, I'm going to return to the Ukraine, that place connected to us by that inescapable network of mutuality. Please join with me in the choir singing a song that Mary Lou and I were commissioned to write for the Parliament of World Religions in 2015. We searched everywhere for a singer and couldn't find one. So I stood and sang before close to 10,000 people, and I was able to listen to them sing back. And this song reminds me very much of Julian's song. So I think these feelings are coming out through the world. When the chorus sang back, it was a chorus of Muslims, Christians, Jews, Sikhs, pagans, many, many Native American groups, people from all over the world. So on this first day, when we can join our voices together in song, let us sing, Earth is Calling. War is raging through the earth. Do you hear the people cry? Voices calling out for change. Hearts and minds must open wide. Earth has sheltered generations. Now she calls to us. Claim your heart and raise your voice. Only we can be the change. We are the wind. We are the sea. We are the rivers. We are the trees. We are the mountains. We are the bees. Hold the earth as our beloved. Reclaim humanity. Mothers crossing in the night, long roads they left behind. Fathers dying on the sea, facing senseless tragedy. Ancient forests disappear. Do you hear the mighty fall? Lives are traded on the streets, and we feel poverty. We are the wind. We are the sea. We are the rivers. We are the trees. We are the mountains. We are the bees. All the earth as our beloved. Reclaim humanity. We are one with wind and sea. We are king and refugee. We know hunger, pain, and joy. How can we find harmony? Earth has sheltered generations. Now she calls to us. Claim your heart and raise your voice. Only we can be the change. We are the wind. We are the sea. We are the
We are the trees. We are the mountains. We are the bees. All the earth as our beloved, reclaim humanity.
Thank you, everyone. You guys can finally sit down. You can too. Thank you, everyone. Can you tell we've been hungry to sing? And now, before we extinguish our chalice, I would like to invite any who would like to introduce themselves to do so. I will since we're not passing a mic, I will try to repeat the names for you who are on Zoom. And you on Zoom, if any want to introduce yourselves, it might be better to put it in the chat because I can't see everyone. Is there anyone who would like to introduce themselves? Please. Welcome, welcome, Hallie and Jan, who are visiting today. Thank you. Thank you for your courage and standing up. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? With much gratitude then, and with solidarity for those people across the world, the people represented by these sunflowers and by this flag, we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And with apologies to the people on Zoom, I am going to be meeting the people today who are in person. So if you want to stay and go into your breakout rooms, please do so, but we won't be having a main room gathering on Zoom. Okay, so now I'm going to go stand over there so I can meet people on their way out. And I have a big announcement. We're gonna have coffee on Easter morning. That might get some of you who like to worship in your pajamas coming to church, coming to our service.